On this week's episode of The Smoke Break, we talk about the intersection between masculinity, feminism, and mental health. We also discuss how being a public figure and a role model makes self-care more important. Episodes release on all platforms Mondays at 6 p.m. And we are live with The Smoke Break. We're here every Sunday from 9 to 10 a.m. on Shady Pines Radio, as well as Pretty Dope Xperience Radio. I'm your host, your old pal Zane, here with Zoe Schwartz.
Hello.
Mic Crenshaw.
Peace.
And Ryan Danley.
What's up?
Yo, so I got rid of my hiccups. I don't know how it happened, but we're going to run with it.
Hey.
So I'm super excited to talk to you both. You both are very big in the community and just two people who I look up to a lot. So with it being Women's History Month, I wanted to talk to you all about feminism and what your experience has been over time and really just understanding your place in it and what place you want to hold in it.
Okay. So high school, I went to an alternative high school for the latter part of my high school career called Loring Nicollet Alternative School in Minneapolis. And in Loring Nicollet, there were some pretty leftist teachers. It was a small school. We had 30, 60 students total, a lot of one-on-one time, but a lot of social justice oriented curricula. So women's studies was mandatory.
Cool. That's super dope.
That was my introduction to the concept of feminism.
Yeah.
And it was combined with a lot of other anti-oppression analysis. So starting to understand that the world's most marginalized people are women of color.
Yeah.
And then it moves up from there, indigenous people of color, houseless people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Black folks.
Yes.
Right. In this country, Native American Black folk. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So but then orienting, feminism to start to understand it as a system of oppression that operates on a continuum that has a deep history that sometimes predates other systems of oppression. Right. Now, in my childlike becoming an adolescent mind, I wanted to know why. So I always want to know the root cause of everything. And I think when we try to look at the root cause of capitalism or white supremacy, it's easier to identify things. Yeah. When we try to look at the root cause of oppression of women or patriarchy, it's harder to identify dates and times. And so it helps me in my analysis to connect the dots as often as I can. So when I'm thinking about feminism currently, I'm thinking about it in the context of systems that harm everybody. Every human on the planet and most species on the planet are harmed by the patriarchal capitalist system that we have. Yes. I correlate the woman's body and consciousness with Mother Earth body and consciousness. And the harm that we cause to women that we normalize enables us to be ignorant in the best case scenario.
Yeah.
And intentionally brutal and fucked up in the worst case scenario.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
So how we treat the planet, how we treat animals, how we treat nature is a reflection of how we treat women and it's interconnected.
I really appreciate that you said that.
I've heard that, but not in the way that you described it. And that was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about for you, Ryan? Like, what would you say is like kind of been your experience over time?
Well, first, I'd like to follow Mic Crenshaw on things because he's
I was going to say,
smarter.
I don't know what I would say,
exactly,
but good luck.
What Mike said.
Yeah.
No, I think, I was fortunate, and this is going to sound really crazy, but I was like really introduced to feminism by my dad.
Okay. That's really cool.
My dad is kind of a East Coast liberal hippie sort of guy, and he was always very good at like old school feminism. Like, we lived in a house where like he definitely didn't. I mean, it's not that there isn't problematic stuff wound within that at all, but I was definitely raised to believe that like women can do things, and bro culture wasn't like a celebrated thing in my household growing up. So I was fortunate enough to get that. Have I always adhered to that? I mean, it's, I think,
knowing and doing can be two different things.
Well, and I think that's the thing about it for me is that like, I I try not to say I'm a feminist. I try to say that I strive towards feminism because I don't want to ever get myself into the place where I'm out of damage control to it. As I got older, what I experienced and I hate that it is this way, but it is this way, is that when I had a daughter, it was some things were made clear to me, and I hate that it takes so many, especially white straight presenting males, like a personal experience to have these awakenings. But you start seeing things for what they really are, and it's not that I never believed it, but there's just these like blind spots and like things like that. So I've really I've tried to learn and I've tried to grow with it and learn with it and be open with what feminism looks like and where I can continue to, because it's really easy to say I believe all women should make the same amount of money. Well, there's a lot more to it.
Yeah, believing that should be the case and making pushes for that to be the case can be vastly different.
Exactly, and there's so many micro oppressions within all of it that it's different. So where do I stand and what can I be? So I guess that's where I'm at.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. That's that you understand the different parts of the journey of maybe understanding initially that yes, I'm doing more than most people, but also understanding that with time that there's more that you can do, and once you know better, doing better. So so Zoe, I'm curious.
How do I relate to feminism?
Yeah. How would you relate to feminism? Tell me about it.
I don't know. I'm a woman, so that's part of it.
Sure, very important part.
Yeah, no, I actually really like what both of you said, but I really liked what Mike said about the connection to the way we treat the earth and animals. And I think that's, for me, my mom always said, and my parents are hippies too. They're, and I think my mom definitely taught me a lot about feminism growing up. But I think and my mom was an environmentalist, she was into agriculture. So growing up and permaculture and stuff like that. And so I did really kind of learn about it from that kind of perspective, even though she wasn't super outwardly spiritual, but there was this really sense of we're connected to the earth. My mom was really centered around that. And as I went to school for social work and learned a lot more about social justice and just I learned that that there is a direct connection between the way that cultures and specifically too, in different places, you can see a connection between the way that other marginalized and animals and things like that are treated. And there's I don't know, I can't think of the word, but so I guess just kind of feeling I was indoctrinated into feminism at a young age. And I went to some school at some point where it was a private school and they talked about God. It wasn't exactly a religious school, but they talked about God and they called God he. And my mom told me I got in trouble because I raised my hand and I was like, why would God be a man? Can we just break this apart here real quick? Yeah, I was so I think I want to say I was born with it, but I think my mom instilled it in me. But there is a natural part of me that feels very strongly injustice in general, a strong sense of injustice. But I always felt very
well. I'm sure there was different ways that you felt it showed up when you were younger, where it was maybe boys get to be on certain teams and stuff like that. But as you got older, you saw this isn't just they get picked first for this, or we get picked last for this.
Yeah, and I would say the way now that I'm thinking about it, the way that I would say that feminism or just this idea is body image. I feel women, our beauty and our bodies, like you said, is so much of it's connected in the same that we're valued for those things. And a lot of my struggles in my life were about my body and relating to my body. And honestly, a big part of my mental health struggles were really rooted at that was the thing I put my problems on, Sure. And so just thinking about how that connection, it's really cool to think about. But I think it was from a very young age.
Yeah. No, I
was a feminist. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. I guess in my experience, I was raised by two women, but I was also raised with and this is kind of a weird thing to even kind of voice, is just that there were parts of the patriarchy that were baked into my mom's, where it was just even though they were both women, there were parts that they identified with of this is a woman's role, or this is how you talk to these people, or this is so it was a lot of I would say it coming from a place of understanding initially, but also understanding that there was things that I didn't know, and there was more that I needed to know.
There's a lot of dominant culture is internalized in all of us as individuals, regardless of what our identity is. And I think that's what makes it so difficult to be empowered in a sustained way, when we fight systems of oppression, because so much of our identity as we grow and self-reflect and become wiser, if we're lucky to live long enough, we see how much of the shit is like just subconsciously part of all of us. Yeah.
That makes me think about what you said, Ryan, about like you don't say you're a feminist, you say you aim to be a
working
feminist
towards it.
Yeah, and I think that's like makes me think about that idea of like people are like, I'm not racist, or like I'm not sexist or whatever, and it's like, no, you are, because we were born in a sexist, racist culture. We all have internalized of a lot of things, and our job is to unpack them and to figure out how we're always potentially falling back on those things that we were born into and socialized into. So I think that keeps us in a place of like active, like knowing we're not perfect, but we're always striving to learn more, kind of, or to undo more.
And I think that like once you have decided that I'm not racist, I'm not sexist, I'm not homophobic, then you stop doing the work to, break down those systems. So I think I really appreciate what you said about, saying that it's something you're working towards, not something you've accomplished.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to keep hogging shit, but like, I think for those of us who are obsessed, and at any point in any one of our lives, we find ourselves in these places where we're obsessed with being right, or we're obsessed with being seen as good, and like we're doing the best we can, and we want to be recognized and validated. And there's a lot of insecurity that comes from that prevents us from being real with ourselves about harm we cause
doing
ourselves by refusing to look at hey. It's okay to be accountable for, not being perfect.
Yeah.
And it's okay to, you're going to think thoughts and you're going to have things, and you just have to be in the, you can't, like, it's useless to anybody to sit around, and it's why like white guilt and all that. It's like useless, you know what I mean? Because it's like the point needs to be is that like, I need to be a better person, and I need to take the things that have been taught to me, and I need to run them through the ringer, and I need to be open to those mistakes my brains make, and I need to, and I mean, and I think for me, it got like increasingly harder because like there's this weird line you run with parenthood, with like there's some quote unquote normal that you want your kids to, like how much of my personal like far whatever ideals do I, what I mean, like I was never like a Christmas person, and then I had kids and I was like, well, I don't want them to not, what I mean, like to not have Christmas, and so we started having Christmas, and I and there's problematic, what I mean, so how much of these where you fall into that, and unfortunately within all of that you end up still even with the idea that like I'm going to hopefully make this world better and I'm staying in damage control, there are some concessions that you make in this world to live in like the quote unquote normal world. Totally. And unfortunately within that comes the teaching of more of the same,
Yeah.
Well, and you had said damage control, then that's something I'd heard you bring up a couple times. What does damage control look like? What do you mean by that phrase?
Well, I think damage control is, is really ultimately being open to new ideas and new things that you haven't heard, and to be in the situation, like I'm like a white guy. I don't want to be right about this thing. Like Mike was saying, you know what I mean? Like I can get, I think that, most people have like come a long way in how we look at like gender in the past 10 years, I think a lot of people, I think and it's like, and also like there's like this point of like, sometimes maybe like it's not even like about me, like everybody's like, well, I think this and I think that. Well, maybe it's not about that. Maybe it's more about like the world is what it is, and we want to just be here to support people who aren't hurting people, and it's okay that maybe like it's okay not to maybe even understand how somebody else is feeling, and you know what I mean. But that empathy can live with understanding that people are living different lives, and that's where the damage control lives with me, is that like I have to believe that these people are suffering because they're saying that they are, and regardless of like my experience with the world and my things on the view, that I can just go ahead and just be like, hey, you know what, maybe I don't know everything, and maybe it's time just to support these folks because this is the best team to support. You know what I mean?
Sometimes I find myself in a position where somebody is telling me, hey, you're harming me. And instead of me being able to support them, I get really defensive, right? And then what I've been trying to grow into is when I find myself being really defensive, which is like fear-based. Something about what they're saying is a threat to like the way I want to feel or the way I want to think about myself,
Yeah,
right?
totally.
Definitely.
So then being able to be, and that's a really uncomfortable thing. So then before I react and like lash out at them to protect myself from their shit that I believe they're putting on me,
Yeah.
it's like, wait a minute, why is it such a threat?
Yeah.
Because that's where the problem is. They're not the problem. The problem is that I feel threatened. So like, let me take some time and look at what it is that feels threatening. It doesn't have to be anybody's business.
Yeah.
But that's where I'm going to be able to be like, oh, there's some shit to discover about me in
Yeah.
there.
Right.
Yeah. Be
Right?
curious.
After that,
Yeah.
I can find some empathy.
Yeah.
Only if I can do that shit with myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? But if I'm
Totally.
just reactive and I never get to check in like that,
Totally.
yeah.
Yeah. No.
No, I appreciate both of you just
Yeah.
sharing your perspective on that, just because, like I said, you're two people who I look up to. So I appreciate you just sharing that with our audience as well.
Yeah.
Word.
Cool. Well, we're going to take a real quick commercial break. We'll be right back with the smoke break. We're here every Sunday from 9 to 10 a.m. on Shady Pines Radio, as well as Pretty Dope Experience Radio.
Yeah. It's weird.
And we are back with the smoke break. We are changing our commercials next time. I am your host, Cheryl Palzane. Here with Zoe Schwartz.
Hello.
Mic Crenshaw.
What's up?
And Ryan Danley.
What up?
All right. So taking care of yourself, it's a difficult thing, but I feel like it's an even more difficult thing when you're living in the public eye. So what would you say like the role of self-care has been for you in being a role model to your community?
I got into working out and eventually training martial arts because I was in a violent lifestyle in my youth. And so there was some self-care, like the feeling good and looking good in terms of being in shape was like a side effect.
Yeah.
Of getting into a lifestyle training because I wanted to be a formidable foe. I didn't want to be a victim in the streets, And so because of that, now I'm not engaged in a violent lifestyle, but I've developed a relationship with fitness that is mental health like oriented. So if I don't use my body at least 3 days a week in a way that exerts my energy, then I don't feel good.
That's the hardest one for me is like taking care of myself in that way. But I also feel like it's the thing that will allow me to feel better about myself. What about for you, Ryan? Like the things that you say are on a platform where people are listening. Like, what do you feel like the importance of you taking care of yourself so that way you're delivering the message that you want to has played for you?
Well, I have some personal experience with this lately, a little bit more. I just recently went through a very challenging, I'm actually still in it, emotional situation, and been in like an elongated panic attack, and I didn't deal with it early on enough, and unfortunately that caused some hypertensive crisis and things like that. And basically right now, and I've had like a really great response to this, is I'm trying to like take back masculinity and mental health and how they work together. Because I still, even though I've been through this before and I can speak this language a lot, I still, when I start to struggle, still have this like, bro, you got to just, like rub some dirt on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mentality and like, and get over your shit. And like, and unfortunately, like that's, it becomes like problematic because it's like going to kill me. Like literally almost killed me this time. Like the first time I went to the doctor, I had a 220 over 180 blood pressure. And he was afraid that like my brain was going to start bleeding. I was struck. So like literally physically killed me. If not the other type of killing myself. Because like it's an exhausting thing. So I'm on this mission right now to like tell everybody, and particularly like guys who are, it's like, go get checked out. We don't have to macho our way through all of this crap. Like go get I've put out a bunch of TikToks and a bunch of stuff on social media stuff, and I've had 4 different people tell me that they've made doctor's appointments from what I said. So that's, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but it feels.
I'm trying to pat you on the back.
Well, thank you, but it feels good because like you're not going to win in a battle between brain chemistry and the world. I think you're just not going to win. And like, I don't know, like, and we have all been taught such terrible ways to take care of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, what we talk about with being on a public stage, and it's not like, like I'm a famous person or anything, but I have a podcast with a lot of people that listen to it all over the world. I have, everything the bigger your stage, the weightier your words, and people would like to think that like, oh, it doesn't matter what celebrities say and stuff like that, but it does matter because it does paint the
There's
lexicon.
Somebody listening.
Absolutely.
It paints what we view of the world, and how it is. And if we don't use our stages, however big they are, to say, hey, like, you know what, it's totally okay to be like, I feel anxious and this is going to kill me. I need to go to a doctor and see what they're going to say about it. Yeah. It's totally fine to be that person. Mm-hmm. And if we're not using any of our space to, do that, I think we're wasting it. And
definitely.
And, and as things, and as you get better at things and bigger and as Mike knows this with hip hop and like, I know this with comedy, especially is like, it gets harder and the world pushes and art is hard, you know what I mean? Yeah. And like, it's hard on you. And so you have to make sure that if you're in the positions where we get pressure and stuff like this, or not, you're taking care of yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Capitalism is really challenging, when we're working more for less because of inflation, right? And because of less opportunities for employment. And that's a lot of that stuff isn't going to change. It's just going to continue to get worse. And so there's this metaphor like, boiling a lobster or boiling a frog where you just slowly turn the heat up, right? And they don't realize they're being cooked. And I feel like that metaphor is apt for the society that we live in late stage capitalism, right?
Yeah.
So finding time for oneself when, if you're in a position of being a provider, and you support people as a parent, right, as a partner, as a community member, then it is easy to lose track of showing up for yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think that like showing up for yourself is the thing that like if you're not showing up for yourself, then it's not impossible, but it is very difficult to effectively show up for other people.
Yeah.
What about you? So you're on the show, and you might be a little bit nervous that the things that you say are being looked at right through that camera. How do you deal with like self-care and maybe your words holding a little bit more weight?
I mean, it's definitely something I think about. I think I try to take care of myself. I try to like not go out every single night, even though I want to. And it's been hard recently because I'm starting a serious, real job after going to school, and also like getting back into comedy again and like having more opportunities and like producing shows and stuff. And it's like, I haven't got to go out quite as much, Yeah. But I think it's about making space for that. And so it's like, how do I take enough time to myself where I don't beat myself up for taking that time? And then actually something that we were talking about on the way here, I just thought of, Zane, is like, I really like the idea of like when you're trying to take care of yourself or you're trying to improve your health, I think trying to like cut things out or like, I'm not going to do this anymore, I'm not going to do that. I think that just makes us feel bad about ourselves and often just makes us want to rebel. So I think what I like to think about it is adding in more like restorative practices. So like we were talking about that on the way here, like, okay, I know I'm doing too much right now. What can I add in that will help me feel more rested and restored? And as a result, you'll push out some of the like too much of the work that you're doing and find a way to relate to your work in a way that one, comes across better, and two, feels better. So you're not just doing your art because you're like, I'm an artist, I'm going to pump out my art. It's like, I actually want to enjoy doing my art. Right? So I think about it like that.
I don't, but I understand what you mean.
And I'm not doing all of this either. I just want to say that. I'm not always doing all of this.
Right. Well, that kind of tracks back to what Ryan was saying about, like, I guess knowing that, like, knowing the language and knowing all of that stuff, but actually being able to not just beat yourself up and be like, nah, you're a man, rub some dirt in it, like knowing better and doing better can be two different things.
Yeah.
But I really like what you said about adding in more restorative stuff, because like my tendency is when I feel overwhelmed to just take everything away. Well, I have a bunch of stuff and I'm stressed. So if I have less stuff, then I won't be stressed. And it's like, no, you don't have free time.
Sprinkle the stress out.
Yeah. Now I have less stuff, but it's spread over a bigger space.
Yeah.
I think that it takes some sorcery, like some spiritual practice that goes beyond linear, concepts of productivity, because a lot of the ways we beat ourselves up are related to productivity, definitely. And productivity is a capitalism construct, right? In terms of individual productivity, right?
Yeah.
Communal productivity could be a different thing. It could be a very sustainable way where we're all carrying it together, right?
Yeah.
But there's so much pressure on us, to do it all.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, definitely. I would say, like, because we all come from artist backgrounds and most of our arts are very, like, unless you're in a hip hop group or you're in a comedy duo, like what you do is by yourself. Yeah. So it's like, if you're not getting out music, it's because you didn't make music. If you're not getting out, if you don't have new jokes, it's because you didn't write them.
Yep.
So I think that, the productivity and just in beating yourself up, because especially when, people are watching, like that's the thing that we always wanted, but it's like almost as soon as we get it, we're just like, oh man, like I didn't want you to watch right now. I'm not doing anything. I wanted you to look when I was doing a bunch of stuff. Where were you then?
And there's like fucked up sideways shit people say to you in public, like, so what's up with the music, man?
Still telling those jokes, huh?
I thought you were a whole person. I just thought you were this artist that I enjoy what you make. It's like, no, I'm a human.
Well, I mean, and even like the thing that I always have to think about is like whenever I'm just like, man, my favorite artist hasn't released music, and neither have you, Zane. You don't get to just beat people up for the thing that. But I think that like self-care is a really important thing. So with the exception of with exercise, what are other things that you do to make sure that you're checking in with yourself, that you're taking care of, so that way you can be the best you?
Naps.
God, they're so
outdoors.
Great.
Yeah, outside.
Try to eat clean.
Okay.
Orgasms, motorcycle rides.
In that order.
Yeah. Something like that.
That's pretty good. That's a pretty good list. What about you, Ryan? What would you say are the things that help you check in with yourself, make sure you're feeling good?
Well, I feel like anything I say is negated by the fact that I just lost my mind. But
what do you think is going to help you get back on track?
I will say though that like as much as like productivity is I do enjoy staying busy. It keeps me ahead of the demons in a lot of ways. Sometimes I can get really caught in my head. I have a lot going on in my head often, and so if I stay busy and keep the synapses relays firing, I can do that. It's when I sit on. It's kind of when I'm too idle. So what I want to do is make sure that the things that I'm doing are constructive and and not harmful to myself. And I've I quit eating fast food in the past year. It got so after comedy show you leave with cash in your hand, and it's so easy just to stop at Taco Bell or whatever. And and I never feel good after that. In the experience, I'll still eat like In-N-Out or like fancy.
Well, I mean, don't give me harm reduction.
Harm reduction. Leveled up. Ground up fast food. I try to do that, and I mean, like for me, like I'm trying to read books this year again. I read my entire youth, and now I just look at my phone, and you know what I mean. And so I'm trying to read 12 books this year. I'm trying to
cool.
And then I'm also I'm trying to I went to the DEQ the other day in the middle of a
self-care?
panic.
Okay, I'm listening.
I had an expired plate for over a year.
Okay,
and it was like causing me anxiety to park downtown, anxiety to it was the weirdest thing. Mm-hmm. But in the middle of a panic attack the other day, I went to effing DEQ and then to the DMV and just got the plates. And I didn't even have the money for it. I just did it. And it was like such a relief. So it's like actually like sometimes like taking care of yourself is actually like taking care of yourself and like doing the things that are
doing
like,
things you're procrastinating,
things you're not doing and stuff like that are hanging over your heads. And it's just like, why am I like I don't want to get pulled over by a cop. You know what I mean? All I got to do is just get these plates and get this under control.
Well, you were kind of prolonging the anxiety.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know, if you were anxious the first time that happened, you're going to be anxious the 50 other times it happens.
Exactly.
Yeah. Is this worse than the anxiety of going to the DEQ?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Or just,
So real quick question before we wrap this up. Has anybody read Supermarket by Logic? So Logic made a book. It's called Supermarket. I was like, wrote. Yeah, he created the paper. He made this book, and it deals a lot with like mental health and just like even just the idea of like schizophrenia and stuff like that. And like me, as somebody who's been losing their mind, reading this alongside almost my own crisis was like you were talking about reading, and that just very much reminded me of like sometimes it is nice to just have a different input, you know, because there's so much that's been written in this world that like if we're not intaking, you know, almost constantly, then we're just replaying the same bullshit we've been thinking. So that's awesome. Well, we're gonna take a real quick commercial break. We'll be right back, the smoke break, and we are here on Shady Pines Radio as well as Pretty Dope Xperience Radio. And we are back with the smoke break. You are about to watch a live performance from Mic Crenshaw, so I'm so excited for him to bring you some music. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. And go do what you do.
Thank you, Zane. Thank you, Shady Pines Radio. Thank you, Smoke Break. Thank you, Zoe. Thank you, Ryan. Yeah. Thank you, my people, engineering this. Indeed. Bright and brilliant. Despite their mental illness, quite resilient. Fight with wit and write this real shit volatility. Low civility, don't let vulnerability lower your agility. This moment is pivotal. Crucial, critical, our opponent is intentional. Brutally criminal to be truthful, our response has been useful and pitiful. Community defense happens when we control the city though. Perversity, thirstily, worship in emergencies, a constant state of urgency. Crisis creates currency, mass murdering the mayhem, massacres and strife, manufacturing the chaos. The fascist race is right, merchants peddle weaponry and sell it to all sides. No guarantees will know tranquility after we all die. Hostility. Rage and anger killing me, they commit atrocities, plausible deniability. We must achieve the impossible, believe in our abilities. I'ma look to you and me, not Hollywood or Hillary. Politicians and police, gatekeeping bourgeoisie. Liberation's closer than you think, but y'all ain't really feeling me. It's time to think fast. The movement. Learn lessons from our past. The movement. Organize the class. The movement. Solidarity at last, the movement. Hey yo, it's time to think fast. The movement. Learn lessons from our past. The movement. Organize the class. The movement. Solidarity at last. The movement. Y'all will say we know about that, but what about the love? What about the good Lord and the heavens up above? The heavens up above, they are inside of you. But forget about the essence of the message tried and true. And to the hell below, we have access to that too. Depending on what you know, how you think and what you do. I'm posted on the radius doing surveillance with my crew. With a phone and from the drone, they spy on me and you. Oh, you think I'm a fool, they spying on you too. You think you cool, but they spying on you too. So what you gonna do? What we gonna do? What you gonna do? What we gonna do? It's time to think fast. The movement. Learn lessons from our past. The movement. The movement. Solidarity at last. The movement. Hey yo, it's time to think fast. The movement. Learn lessons from our past. The movement. Organize the class. The movement. Solidarity at last. The movement. They blasted on the park right before it got dark. I saw the muzzle flash out the window, flying spark. Fuck the snitches in the narcs, they're baiting about marks. They aiming at our children, hear the baby in the heart. Code of silence, I'm not promoting violence, there's a science. Self-sufficient, self-reliant, efficient and defiant. Cheaters, leopards, lions. One of us gets hit, well, 3 of them are dying. Self-control. Erosion of my soul, PTSD test me. I won't give up before our goals. Protect our families, communities, and homes. As to whether we find peace, well, that remains unknown. It's time to think fast.
The movement.
Learn lessons from our past.
The movement.
Organize the class.
The movement.
Solidarity at last. The movement. Hey yo, it's time to think fast. The movement. Learn lessons from our past.
The movement.
Organize the class.
The movement.
Solidarity at last. The movement. Hey yo, it's time to think fast.
The movement.
Learn lessons from our past.
The movement.
The movement. Solidarity at last. One more time, say it with me.
Hey, yo,
it's time to think fast.
The movement.
Learn lessons from our past.
The movement.
Organize the
The
class.
movement.
Solidarity at last.
The movement.
That's on the Earthbound LP, The Movement. Yeah, y'all. It's an oldie but a goodie. It's off the Hope and Danger EP. Called Vampires. Yeah. Government becoming the puppet of corporations, legally turning the planet to plantation. You insulated, indentured, or enslaved. If they can eliminate your labor, they will do that shit today. You an entrepreneur? Well, surely there's a way to not have taxes that we pay. Pave our way through the grave. The processes and practice are what we call fashion. Stand for something, stop fronting. Quit fronting like you're active. Who am I to judge? We got a lot in common, politics and economics. You know the human type of problems. I'ma follow my heart before I follow sheep to slaughter. See, I'ma do my job and try to be a better father. I've been working so hard, someone's always working harder. What we gonna do if they put hands on us side? I play my role as an artist. I'm not trying to be a martyr, but I gotta talk about it. Not enough of us will bother. Hey, hey, ho, ho, vampires have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, the vampires have got to go. Shit. Hey, hey, ho, ho, the vampires have got to go. Hey, 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 ho, ho, the vampires have got to go. Kick, snare, hi-hat, kick, kick, clap. I remember one time someone hit me with a bat. It didn't knock me out, but I know we wish he had. See, that's a metaphor for where we are at. They shut up water in Detroit. They slaughter or exploit. Preparation for the confrontation you can't avoid. We painfully endure being gainfully employed. A robot took our jobs. We on a corner with our boys now for no good reason. It's open season. I guess black folks breathing provokes police. And I'm consistently scoping out things overseas. See, freedom is a verb and I am not afraid of leaving. The gentle genocide is the city gentrified. You get kicked aside or disenfranchised. This is the plan, guys, that the man has devised. Send assassins to attack you in a pack you can't hide. Hey, hey, oh, oh, the vampires have got to go. Hey, hey, oh, oh, the vampires have got to go. Hey, hey, oh, oh, the vampires have got to go. Hey, hey, the vampires have got to go. Why would I pay a human being a fee to do for me what I can get a machine to do for free? You might find it offensive, but it's not in my interest to wind up in a lawsuit where I'm the defendant after paid your pension. Your medical and dental technology is cheap. It's not coincidental. I'm international and intercontinental. Ownership, I own the shit. You pay for the rental. Hey, hey, oh, that's how they think, y'all. They gotta go. Who is it? You know. Sing it with me. Hey, hey, oh, oh, the vampires have got to go. Is it? Hey, hey, oh, oh, the vampires have got to go. Got to go. Got to go. Got to go. Oh, it's all good. I think this next joint is called Don't Push, produced by PSL. Big shout out to the homie. Crenzo. Born after me and die before me. More tragedy in those kinds of stories. With your capacity to defy transforming circumstances from loss to glory and acquisition of that position. Fact and fiction and impactful wisdom. See, cats go missing from bad decisions, catastrophes, cataclysms in this labyrinth of a massive system. I didn't get to see you before you went back to prison. Facts, opinions, and basic truths. You better respect an OG that's paid his dues.
Don't push me, cause I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose.
I said,
Don't push me, I'm close to the
yeah.
I'm trying not to lose.
I wish you would've done what I was afraid to do. My own limitations have framed my truths. Total liberation for me and you here. That's a conversation that I came to move. I've been dedicated to a dream like most of my life. Educated through devotion and sacrifice. Focus on hope and acting right. To prioritize passion, you have to fight. And I'm clear about the fact that they want to kill me. Low down, filthy, greedy, guilty. Architects of darkness that are hard to target. Maximum damage before my departure. I'm trying to escape the pain and hate. Pills and powder, drinks to the face. Parasitic, bureaucratic, draining maze. I praise the end of this dreadful phase. Now don't
Push me, cause I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose.
I said don't
Push me,
I'm close.
to the edge. I'm trying not to lose.
I think it's time to relocate somewhere outside the United States, where we're classified by caste and race, and my class and place dictate my fate. We gotta visualize and actualize beyond genocide and the fratricide. I'm trying to emphasize and amplify, simplify and be satisfied. They're trying to hypnotize and pacify, de-emphasize what I magnify. If you open your eyes, don't ask me why. For freedom to thrive, someone has to die. I don't do this cause it makes me rich. It brings me joy when life's a bitch. I'm not a boy, I survive adolescence. They could not destroy me, so I learned a lot of lessons. They say, dumb it down, make it more accessible. It's too political and intellectual. And in order to be a successful professional, you need to be more violent and be more sexual. Pussy, dope, guns, murder and money. Incarcerated niggas, yeah, that shit's funny. Silicon and a Playboy bunny. Killer drones and turned up dummies. Now don't
Push me, cause I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose.
Now don't
Push me,
I'm close
to the edge.
edge. I'm trying.
Not to lose. Don't push me, I'm close to the.
Don't push me.
I'm close to the.
Hey, don't
Push me, I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose.
Okay. Last joint. To the ancestors and all those that came before me that made it possible for me to be here.
We come from everywhere. What's something I don't care? I see, I don't stare. We've been right here for years. Thank you for everything. I say this every day. I wake up and I pray. These are the words I say.
Generosity over animosity. Keep it positive, little people watching me. What are the chances? What an oddity. 1 in 10 billion. I won the lottery. Identity physically channel infinity. Black history embodied the chemistry. Bounce from captivity, announce activity, creativity, the remedy for limited energy. Choice necessity, poised for destiny successfully. Hoist aggressively, raw strength, 1/10 of the recipe. Details change, flexibility's everything.
We come from everywhere. What's something I don't care? I see, I don't stare. We've been right here for years. Thank you for everything. I say this every day. I wake up and I pray. These are the words I say.
Visualize your wildest dreams. The time is now to actualize your deepest thoughts. Give thanks, go to work, keep my fingers crossed. I'm not trying to be deep, but I am not sleep. You in the trap lacking supply and police. It is what it is, see the kids gotta eat. We get it how we live and we dying in the streets. Walls and distractions, pause and imagine. Laws of attraction, positive action. Bars and compassion, cause and reaction. I'm walking my path for the confidence, smashing.
We come from everywhere. What's something I don't care? I see, I don't stare. We've been right here for years. Thank you for everything. I say this every day. I wake up and I pray. These are the words I say.
I say.
Thank you so much. That's been Mic Crenshaw, and we will be right back with the smoke break after this commercial break. And we are back with the smoke break. Thank you so much, Mike, for sharing some music with us.
Appreciate you.
Yeah. You are you're just such a amazing artist. The message that you have with every word, it's like you wrote them with intention, and I just appreciate that.
Thank you,
Yeah,
brother.
that was great.
Yeah,
Thank
for
you,
sure.
Zoe.
So the way we like to usually wrap this up, and I think the way we'll wrap it up this week is the question: what are you excited for? It's a little way for me to learn a little bit more about you folks. So we're gonna start off with Ryan. What are you excited for?
I got a bunch going, a bunch of great stuff going on. My podcast, another goddamn horror podcast. We just recorded a cool episode.
That's the name of it, not you commenting on it.
Not my commenting on it.
Okay, I'm just
Well,
making
both,
sure.
Both maybe. It's another goddamn horror podcast, and me and some comedian friends from New York City interview people from all over the world about themselves and their music or art projects, and talk to them about horror. That's been going pretty well, so I got that going on. Stand-up comedy is going well for me, so that's kind of exciting.
What's going well look like? More
I have
bookings,
places to do. Yeah, more bookings,
better bookings.
I feel like I'm confident in what I have, and you know what I mean. And so like I'm feeling good about. And we were just on a great show together.
Yes.
You just booked me. You know what I mean?
Look at that.
I got all that going on for me. So that's that's a good thing, because it takes a lot of work, and when you see success out of the work, it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And mentally, I'm looking forward to just got a new therapist, and he was cool.
Congrats. Have you had male therapists before?
I've had a lot of therapists, so they've been kind of a bit the spectrum. And he's cool. He told me I was high functioning. So I'm just going to take that as a win. You know what I mean?
It means you're also struggling, but people expect more of you. So that's
right. Exactly.
I'm here to translate. You're welcome.
Can I dumb this down a little bit? That would be fantastic. But it's so I'm excited for a lot of those things. I'm excited to, and lastly, I'm excited to finish the book I'm reading, which is called Razorblade Concrete or Blacktop. Razorblade Blacktop by S.A. Cosby. That's
I mean,
like the name.
I haven't finished a book in a while. I need to do that.
Oh man. I just finished one, and I'm like, okay, cool. All right. Now I'm like actually taking recommendations. So no, that's super dope. What about you, Mike? What are you excited for?
Speaking of books, I'm working my way through An American Family by Elijah Santi-Holy, and we're going to be doing a book event for that book at Powell's Books June 8th. Okay. But it's this book that talks about the Shakur family, Shakur, okay, of which Tupac is progeny, right? Mm-hmm. And Mutulu Shakur, Assata Shakur, Zaid Shakur, these people who were part of the Black Panthers and later the Black Liberation Army, and the consciousness in the Black Liberation movement that they instilled, which later was part of the artist that the world came to love, is Tupac. But it's a history that a lot of people allude to in certain circles, but the masses don't understand. And I think it's really important that the masses understand Tupac's revolutionary lineage. You know?
Yeah, well, I mean, he wasn't born in a vacuum. You know,
Yeah.
The person that he was born through the people that surrounded him and the situations that he saw. So
Indeed. There's been a transition from just focusing on being a hip hop artist to being a literary contributor to multiple books. So the next book that I've contributed to, that I co-wrote with the co-producers of the It Did Happen Here podcast, that's dropping late March. And it's the book, It Did Happen Here, the book. PM Press is publishing that. And then I have my memoir that PM Press is going to publish, which is still work in progress.
Okay.
You know, so when you said like I don't call myself a feminist, I don't call myself a writer.
Yeah.
I'm aspiring to be a writer, but it's been nice to be fed and to feed my creativity in ways that hip hop wasn't and hasn't been able to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And to grow into something. And then, there's another podcast called Race Trips and Development about racial consciousness and psychedelics. And
Sounds sweet.
I think there's something I'm forgetting. So I'm busy.
Yeah,
There's a lot to look
so
forward to.
you're excited to be busy.
Yeah. Indeed.
No, I think that just what you were saying about like wanting to be a writer or working to be a writer. I think that, realizing that hip hop has a role in our self-expression, but like it's not the only way we can express ourselves.
That's right.
So like I similarly found that avenue through comedy where it was just like there's things that there's certain things I don't want to joke about and there's certain things I don't want to make rhyme.
Yeah.
That's the way I try to like sum it up. It's just like there's certain things that like maybe might be sadder or heavier, and there might be things that like are sadder and heavier that I want to make lighter. So just being able to see where each of those areas is for you. I think that's really cool. So you're writing books now. Yeah.
I'm writing books, and contributing to books that are being either curated by people. A lot of this is about the anti-racist, anti-fascist movement that my consciousness arrived as a young person coming into adulthood as part of that movement. And so a lot of books, because of this move to the extreme right that's happening in this society and other places on earth, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people are interested in how we were fighting and responding and handling our business in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
And then I would be remiss to not mention Crenshaw and Shabazz, These Motherfuckers, is a documentary series with myself and Malcolm Shabazz Hoover. We're going to be riding our motorcycles across the country and interviewing cool people like y'all.
Yeah.
So we're going to have you guys on as guests on that.
Sick.
Yeah.
That'd be
We
awesome.
dope.
No,
He's a good dude too. We had him on our
That's right.
on our
Culture in Motion.
Culture
Yeah.
in Motion.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's super dope. Zoe, what about you? What are you excited for? Talk to me.
I'm excited mostly for I'm putting on a show again in Eugene on March 25th. Ryan's going to be on it. It's at Wildcraft Cider Works. And I'm excited for that mostly. And then also just comedy and life, I think.
Yeah. Do you have any like jokes that you've been working on recently that you're just like, all right, this one's been hitting or this one bombed and I thought it was going to hit?
I have a joke about Lorena Bobbitt that I've been doing that people have really been enjoying.
Perfect. Can you share it now or you can't do it?
It's pretty dirty, but it's like about how I feel like the cops spread out to find that guy's missing dick quicker than they look for, other things. I basically say, apparently cops care more about, the only thing cops care more about saving than a beautiful white woman is a beautiful white dick.
But how do you know it was beautiful? Like,
I don't know if it was. I just am assuming how quickly they found it. They felt like
it had to be.
they did find it right because they sold it back.
Yeah, and he went on to have a porn career as well.
Damn it.
The irony.
Yeah. No lie. Well, I think that that's something that I just appreciate about your comedy is just like that was stuff I didn't know, maybe stuff I didn't need to know, but it was also stuff that like you framed it in a way that's just like, yeah, you're right. That is kind of fucking goofy.
Yeah. I feel like I should write a joke about the Long Island Lolita soon too, because I'm like, these stories of like, it's like, oh, this crazy lady did this horrible thing, but really there's like some older creepy dude who's really the creep in the story.
Yeah.
And a woman had less power for lots of different reasons, and not
well,
just
it's
being a
important
woman.
context.
Yeah, so that's why I like that. I think I want to get a little more political with that joke. Right now, I'm mostly just being silly, and I can't write a joke with at least a gross body part in it because I'm immature.
Hey, progression. Yeah,
Or post-mature.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Hey, they're not poop jokes. I do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because can I get some credit? Yeah, that's super dope. Let's see. What am I excited
you
for?
excited for,
What am I
Zane?
excited for? I'm excited for this episode to release.
Yeah.
I'm excited to shoot another episode tomorrow with Amani.
Oh, yeah, we are doing
that.
Yeah, I know. All the stress that we just got through today, we're doing again tomorrow.
It's okay, it'll be fun.
It'll be fun. I'm just really excited to have the musical portion of it, just because there's so many dope artists that I didn't get a chance to showcase when I was doing a music podcast. That like now I have a chance to be able to talk to them about the things I want to talk to them about and showcase the music that I want to showcase. So yeah, thank you so much for being one of those artists.
I'm honored. Thank you both for having me.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate y'all.
you.
And it's good to see you.
Yeah, and this matchup, this just had to happen. You know what I'm saying?
doubt.
So I appreciate both of you. I'm excited to talk to more people about more stuff, because every one of these episodes I get a little bit more perspective on my own situation through the lens of people's stories. So that's something that I'm really excited. We've been having a lot of success with our clips and stuff that we've been releasing.
I was gonna say you should be excited about the clips you've been putting so much hard work into.
Yeah, I've been getting good at video editing.
Yeah.
That's something that I never really messed around with,
Yeah.
but I was just like, I'm watching it actually pay off. So
Yeah.
It looks good.
like you were saying, putting in that work
Yeah.
and being able to watch it all pay off
Yeah.
is it kind of reinvigorates you, and you're like, oh, now I remember why I'm doing this. Like, I'm going to do it regardless, but like to see that people are connecting with it in the ways that they have is
Absolutely.
it's been huge. And then I'd say the other thing I'm excited for is been reading a lot of self-help books. Those are hard to get through. I think a quote that I heard from a movie is, "You can't help yourself because yourself sucks." Thought it was a good point. I think it was Dodgeball or some shit. I don't know, but it stuck with me. It stuck with me. But I think that, that a lot of us do have the answers ourselves. It's just kind of being asked the right question that helps us arrive at that answer. So for me, self-help books are kind of the thing that helps me reflect, analyze, and, maybe just make more sense of my situation.
I think anything where you can glimmer like one piece of like interesting philosophy from anything that matters, like is a net positive. I mean,
absolutely.
it's like,
I don't need to connect with the whole book. I need to connect with a part of it.
Right. That just says, hey, I've been sober for a long time and I've done a lot of different things around that. And there's a lot of great things that I've picked up from places that you wouldn't even necessarily that on paper I don't agree with.
Yes.
But I can also sit here and say, no, I learned this there, and that this has been okay for me. And it's something that, you know what I mean? And to disregard.
If I can ask, is it like kind of in reference to like the AAs and NAs where it's just they get kind of preachy and you're
I'm better in the recovery rooms than I am in other aspects of recovery, to be honest with you. Like there's just a lot of different types of recovery.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
I have found a lot of success in the rooms, as they call them, because they've been, they're there and they're free, and if you can find good spaces in recovery, that they don't think they have all the answers to things that they don't, and there are, we could have a whole podcast about this subject in general, but there's other things whether it be religious or whether it be hokey self-help books or weird new agey sort of things that like I've had to if any port in a storm sort of thing, if you're struggling and there's information out there and some of those things that you have to and most of it all boils down to self-reflection and taking care of yourself, kind of what we're talking about today.
I appreciate you both coming here and sharing with both of us. This has been an excellent episode.
We appreciate both of you so much.
Thank
you.
Well, that has been the Smoke Break. We're here every Sunday from 9 to 10 a.m. on Shady Pines Radio, as well as Pretty Dope Xperience Radio. I'm your host, Joel Paul Zane, here with Zoe Schwartz,
Bye.
Mic Crenshaw,
Peace.
and Ryan Danley. Thank y'all so much.